Mr. French, can you explain how frivolous litigation has slowed down the forest's ability to conduct proper forest management to reduce fuels, and how this legislation would help alleviate these delays?
Litigation, especially in certain parts of the country, add a lot of additional process and analysis to the projects that we do. I'll give you a few examples of this. So the most litigated areas that we have in the National Forest System are up in Montana, Idaho, Region 1, California, Oregon, Washington. In these areas, what we generally find is that the level of analysis and disclosure we do through NEPA is considerably longer and more extensive than we do in other places, because we're defending ourselves from litigation that we often will get on vegetation management, fuels reduction projects. This will add about $100,000 to $125,000 onto the cost of every project. It generally doubles the cost it takes us to deliver, let's say, a board foot from an area that is not litigated than it does to an area that does. And it adds considerable burden in terms of time frame. So for a community that is looking for us to perform a hazardous fuels reduction project in and around their community, we may propose it and be ready to implement it within about 1.5 years. But if it goes under litigation, we may not actually be able to implement it for 3 to 4 years or longer.
Generally, how soon after there is a decision is litigation initiated? That is, it may take a long time to get through the suits that are brought, but generally how soon after decision is litigation brought? And is the problem more how long it takes to get to the end of the litigation than the length of period after which you can file suit?
I don't have that data, but we can follow up with you with the specifics on that. What I can tell you is, there's 3 general effects that we see. The first is it increases our costs considerably in areas that are highly litigious in terms of the price per unit of what we're trying to deliver, like a fuels reduction, a trail, or a timber volume. It increases the time considerably in those areas for the amount of work you have to do to get yourself prepared for a project to hit litigation. So you're doing a higher level analysis with more analysis so that you do better within the court system. So the cost per project is generally going to be $100,000 or so more than a place than we don't have a litigation. And then generally what we're going to see is that for those areas where we have high litigation, like I think there's about 360 million board feet of timber product that's held up in Region 1 right now under litigation. Generally, with injunctions, those might last, 3 to 6 years. So it's that period of time and the unpredictability it can create to the forest products industry, but also to the communities that are looking for that work.
Let me ask you one other thing. I was in the far north of the state and visited one of the dead forests where there was aerial seeding, and the forest, I think it was mostly spruce that grew up, was so dense light couldn't get to the forest floor, and it's essentially a dead forest. But there are a lot of trees still standing in that dead forest that have no limbs, that are crowding out the rebirth of redwoods. What has impeded the ability to log those trees? Why are they still standing? Is it just not lucrative enough for the timber industry?
Well, no. This is a huge issue for us. And I talked about earlier about areas that we have fires, and you've seen this from Northern California to Southern California. Like, look at those fires up the Feather River Canyon that go up to Quincy and places like that. We can't get in there effectively and salvage that timber. And the importance of doing that, by the way, is not just about driving economic value for what's left in those logs, but it's about going in there and reforesting. It's about removing hazard trees where people can't drive on roads. Like, I can't put a crew in there to plant trees because of the risk of those trees falling on them. So you have to use aerial seeding. We can't go in and effectively salvage those trees because we generally get sued. Those trees lose their value about a year to 2 years after the fire has gone through. So if I put all the effort into doing an EA or an EIS, that's going to take us somewhere between a year and a half, and then we get sued, which is pretty common on salvage sales, all the value is lost, and we've put all that effort in, and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that thing cleared, and then nobody will buy it because all the wood's deteriorated. You have to move quickly to salvage timber. So that what you saw, if you look at like what Sierra Pacific and some of the other local entities do in California, they will be in there within 6 months to a year to remove that timber. We've even tried to take some of that timber and move it out of state to mills that need wood because there was so much left over from fires. But honestly, the issue is the amount of time it takes it to get through the clearance process for NEPA and all the other regulatory pieces we have, and then litigation that keeps us from actually doing it at a scale. It's one of the biggest criticisms that industry has on us is all that standing dead timber.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate